The stars looked peaceful from the bridge of the Vorn flagship. Admiral Torque stood with his forearms clasped behind his back, his gray skin reflecting the light of the small blue planet that filled the main view screen. "Such a tiny world," he said. "Hardly worth our time." His second-in-command, Krell, stepped forward. "Our scans show they have basic space travel capabilities. They have a small station orbiting their planet and several primitive satellites." Torque made a dismissive gesture with his lower right hand. "Another species to add to the Confederation. The Council expects us to bring back at least 3 new client races from this sector." "Should we begin the standard greeting procedure?" asked Krell. Torque thought for a moment. The standard procedure involved months of observation before making contact. It meant learning the local languages, studying their cultures, and finding diplomatic openings. "No," he decided. "These humans appear primitive. Let's use the direct approach, a show of force followed by demands for surrender. It worked on the last 4 worlds." Krell looked uncertain. "Sir, our intelligence division hasn't completed their assessment of human behavior patterns yet." "What is there to assess?" "Look at them." Torque waved at the screen showing images of Earth cities, cars moving on highways, people going about their daily lives. They still burn fossil fuels. They fight among themselves over imaginary borders. They're divided into hundreds of competing groups. They're centuries behind us. "As you wish, Admiral," said Krell, returning to his station. Torque smiled. This would be easy. The Vorn had conquered dozens of worlds this way. Show power, demand surrender, install a puppet, government extract resources, simple and effective. "Move the fleet into position," he ordered. "Target their space station first, then hit 3 of their largest military installations. Nothing too destructive, just enough to show we mean business." The massive Vorn ships moved silently through space, approaching Earth with predatory. First on Earth at the United Nations emergency session in New York, chaos erupted. "They came out of nowhere," shouted the Secretary General, trying to restore order as representatives from 193 nations all tried to speak at once. "Please, we need calm." General William Harris of the United States Space Force stood rigidly next to the podium, waiting for his chance to speak. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his hands were clenched tightly at his sides. Finally, the room quieted enough for him to step forward. "At 0600 hours UTC, our deep space monitoring stations detected multiple objects entering our solar system," he said. "By 0612, they had reached Earth orbit. At 0615, they destroyed the International Space Station with a weapon we cannot identify. All 50 personnel on board are presumed dead." Gasps filled the room. The Secretary General closed his eyes briefly. At 0617, they targeted military bases in 3 countries, the United States, China, and Russia. Casualties are estimated at over 300. At 0620, they broadcast this message to every communication device on the planet. General Harris nodded to a technician, and a deep, mechanical voice filled the chamber. "People of Earth, we are the Vorn Confederation. Your planet is now under our protection. Disarm your weapons, dissolve your governments, prepare to receive our representatives. You have 48 hours to comply or face planetary correction. Resistance is futile." The room exploded into noise again. The Chinese representative shouted about sovereignty. The Russian diplomat demanded immediate military response. The British ambassador called for negotiations. General Harris waited until the Secretary General restored order again. "There's something else you need to know," he said. "Something very few people on Earth are aware of." He pressed a button on his wrist device, and the lights dimmed. A holographic image appeared above the center of the room. A sleek, angular craft unlike anything most people had ever seen. In 1986, a spacecraft crashed in the Mojave Desert. It wasn't from Earth. Its pilot died on impact, but the technology was mostly intact. For the past 38 years, a secret coalition of scientists from 12 nations has been studying and reverse engineering this technology. Shocked murmurs filled the room. After the Chinese discovered a similar craft in the Gobi in 1998, and the Russians found another in Siberia in 2001, We realized we needed to work together. The Earth Defense Alliance was formed in secret in 2005. The hologram changed to show a massive underground facility. Beneath the lunar surface, we've been building these. The image shifted to reveal 3 warships, 1 complete and 2 nearly finished. We call the first one Thunderbolt. It incorporates everything we've learned. It's ready for deployment. The Secretary General stared at the General. You've been building warships on the moon without UN approval? With all due respect, sir, we didn't have time for debates and committees. We needed to prepare. General Harris looked around the room. And it looks like we were right. Deep beneath the lunar surface, Captain Jack Miller walked through the gleaming corridors of the Thunderbolt. Crew members rushed past him preparing for launch. After years of training in secret, the moment had finally come. Miller entered the bridge where Lieutenant Anna Rodriguez was checking system readiness. "How does she look, Lieutenant?" asked Miller. "All systems green, Captain," Rodriguez replied without looking up from her console. "The gravitational compression cannon is online. Jump drive is calibrated. Shields at maximum." Miller settled into the captain's chair. "The aliens destroyed the ISS. Tom Chen was up there. We went through flight school together." Rodriguez finally looked up. "I'm sorry, sir." Miller nodded. "The best way to honor the dead is to protect the living." He pressed the ship-wide communication button. "All hands, this is the captain. In a few minutes, we're going to introduce ourselves to the aliens who think Earth is an easy target. They destroyed our space station, they killed our people, they think we're primitive and weak." He paused. "Let's show them how wrong they are." A cheer echoed through the ship. Back at the UN, representatives had moved from shock to action. The Secretary General had just called for a vote on a unified Earth response when the doors to the chamber burst open. A woman with short gray hair and intense eyes strode in, flanked by security. Director Helen Gray of the Earth Defense Alliance rarely appeared in public. "The vote is unnecessary," she announced. "The Thunderbolt launches in 20 minutes. I've come to brief you on what happens next." She walked to the podium as if she owned it. "For decades, we've prepared for this moment. While you argued about borders and trade deals, we built what we needed to defend Earth. While you worried about election cycles, we looked to the stars and saw both promise and threat." Director Gray brought up her own holographic display, showing the Vorn fleet in Earth orbit. "The Vorn think they're dealing with a primitive species. They expect us to cower or fight among ourselves." She smiled coldly. "We're about to surprise them." General Harris joined her at the podium. "The Thunderbolt carries technology beyond what the Vorn will expect from us. Our response to their ultimatum will be delivered personally by Captain Miller." "What is our response?" asked the Secretary General. Director Gray's smile vanished. "We're going to show them that humanity is not to be trifled with. After that?" She looked around the room. "We hope they're smart enough to run." Admiral Torque was enjoying a meal when Krell interrupted him. "Admiral, the humans are broadcasting a response." Torque sighed. "Let me guess, they're begging for more time? Offering resources?" "No, sir," said Krell, looking confused. "They sent a single message. You have made a grave mistake." Torque laughed. "Bold words from a species about to become our servants. Any sign they're preparing their primitive weapons?" "No, sir. But our sensors detect something launching from behind their moon." Torque wiped his mouth and stood. "Probably a desperate attempt at evacuating their leaders. Let's get back to the bridge and prepare for the next phase." As Torque walked confidently through his ship, he had no idea that Earth's response was already on its way, and it wasn't what he expected at all. Admiral Torque strolled onto the bridge of his flagship with the confidence of a conqueror. The main screen showed a single small ship emerging from behind Earth's moon. "That's their response?" Torque laughed. "One tiny vessel?" Krell studied his readouts with a frown. "Sir, I'm detecting energy signatures that don't match any known human technology." "Of course not," Torque said. "They probably cobbled together whatever they could in desperation." He waved a dismissive hand. "Send 3 interceptors to destroy it. Let's show them what happens to those who defy the Vorn Confederation." Krell hesitated. Should we scan it more thoroughly first? Why waste time? It's just a human ship. Torque settled into his command chair. Let's get this over with so we can begin the occupation. 3 sleek Vorn interceptors broke formation and moved toward the lone human vessel. On the main screen, Torque watched with amusement. This would be over in seconds. Captain Jack Miller sat calmly in the command chair of the Thunderbolt. The bridge. Crew worked with quiet efficiency, each member focused on their station. Through the main viewport, Miller could see 3 alien ships approaching. 3 interceptors incoming, Captain, reported Lieutenant Rodriguez from the tactical station. Weapon systems charging. Miller nodded. Just as we expected, are our systems masked? Yes, sir, said Rodriguez. They're seeing only what we want them to see. A conventional thruster signature and minimal weapons capability. Good. Miller leaned forward. Prepare the gravitational compression cannon. Target the lead interceptor only. And, Lieutenant? Thompson, be ready with that jump maneuver we practiced. Ready, Captain, replied Thompson from the helm. Miller took a deep breath. Humanity's first real space battle was about to begin. Everything they had worked for in secret was about to be tested. Let them make the first move, he ordered. On the Vorn flagship, Krell watched the interceptors close in on the human ship. The human vessel is making no attempt to evade, he reported. Their weapons seem minimal. Torque snorted. As expected. They're probably trying to surrender. Wait, Krell said suddenly, leaning closer to his console. The human ship is accelerating. On the screen, the human vessel suddenly shot forward at a speed that should have been impossible for Earth technology. It moved in a pattern that made no sense, until Krell realized it was systematically avoiding the targeting locks of the Vorn interceptors. How are they doing that? Torque demanded, rising from his chair. They shouldn't even be able to detect our targeting systems. Before Krell could respond, the human ship stopped abruptly. A pulse of blue-white energy erupted from its front section, striking the lead Vorn interceptor. Instead of exploding, the interceptor seemed to collapse in on itself, shrinking rapidly until it was just a small, dense ball of matter. Silence fell over the Vorn bridge. What just happened? Torque asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't know, Krell admitted. That weapon technology is unknown to us. Direct hit, Rodriguez announced on the Thunderbolt. Gravitational compression successful, Miller nodded. Now for Phase 2. Lieutenant Thompson, execute jump. Jumping now, Captain, Thompson replied, her fingers dancing over her controls. The stars blurred around them as the Thunderbolt disappeared from its position, only to reappear behind the 2 remaining Vorn interceptors. Fire conventional missiles, Miller ordered. Full spread. Before the Vorn ships could react to the Thunderbolt's impossible jump, multiple missiles streaked toward them. Both interceptors exploded in silent bursts of light and debris. Targets. Destroyed, Rodriguez reported. Miller stood up. Broadcast on all frequencies, make sure the main Vorn fleet can hear us. Rodriguez nodded, opening the channel. Miller squared his shoulders. This is Captain Jack Miller of the Earth defense ship Thunderbolt. The destruction of your vessels was mercy compared to what comes next. You have 24 hours to leave our system. If any Vorn ship remains after that time, we will consider it an act of continued aggression and respond accordingly. He signaled Rodriguez to cut the transmission. Now we wait, Miller said. Let's see how they respond to an unexpected setback. Admiral Torque couldn't believe what he had just witnessed. 3 of his best interceptors destroyed by a single human ship in less than a minute. It was impossible. It violated everything he knew about human technological capabilities. Send all data to the analysis team, he ordered. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with. Krell was already working. The human ship displayed technology that should be centuries beyond their development stage. That weapon, compressed, matter to near black hole density, and they have jump drive capability. Other officers on the bridge looked nervous. The Vorn had encountered many species, but none had ever surprised them like this. It must be a fluke, Torque insisted. Perhaps they captured technology from another race. One ship doesn't change anything. We have a whole fleet. Admiral, one of the communication officers called out. We're receiving transmissions from the planet. Multiple human governments are broadcasting the same message. Show me, Torque commanded. The screen filled with the image of a stern-faced human female with gray hair. I am Director Helen Gray of the Earth Defense Alliance. What you have witnessed is just one of our ships, the Thunderbolt. We have others. We have been preparing for this moment for decades. The choice is yours, Admiral Torque. Leave in peace or face destruction. Torque felt a chill. How did they know his name? In the United Nations chamber, representatives from Earth's nations watched the battle unfold on the large screens. Cheers erupted when the Thunderbolt destroyed the 3 alien vessels. Director Gray stood at the center of the room, her face showing no emotion. The Thunderbolt performed exactly as expected, she announced. But this is just the beginning. The Vorn fleet consists of 27 ships. They will not retreat based on one defeat. What happens next? Asked the Secretary General. General. Harris stepped forward. We reveal our full hand. The Valiant and the Defiant are nearly complete. We accelerate their preparation and launch within 20 hours. And then? The Russian representative asked. Director Gray's expression hardened. Then we show the Vorn Confederation that humanity is not to be conquered. We have studied their technology through the crashed ships. We improved upon it. We developed countermeasures. She turned to address all the representatives. For decades, the most brilliant minds from all our nations worked in secret beneath the lunar surface. While Earth argued and fought over petty differences, the Alliance prepared for this day. How did you keep this secret? The Chinese representative demanded. Gray smiled slightly. We didn't, not completely. There have always been rumors, UFO sightings, conspiracy theories about government black projects. Sometimes the best place to hide a secret is in plain sight, surrounded by enough misinformation that the truth seems impossible. She pointed to the screen showing the Vorn fleet. Right now, Admiral Torque is deciding whether to retreat or attack with full force. He's proud, arrogant. He won't retreat after one defeat. So, we're still in danger, the Secretary General said. Yes, Gray admitted. But for the first time since they arrived, the Vorn are afraid. They don't understand what just happened. They thought they knew everything about us, but they were wrong. General Harris nodded. The greatest advantage in any conflict is surprise. We've achieved that. Now we need to press it before they recover. On the screen, the Thunderbolt moved to a position between Earth and the Vorn fleet, a single ship facing an armada. Captain Miller has his orders, Gray said. The next move belongs to the Vorn. As if on cue, the Vorn fleet began to move. Admiral Torque paced the bridge of his flagship, his 4 hands clenched into fists. The main screen showed the human ship, the Thunderbolt, hovering between his fleet and the blue planet. One small vessel defying an armada. This is unacceptable, he growled. One lucky victory does not change the outcome. We are the Vorn Confederation. We have conquered dozens of worlds. Krell approached cautiously. Admiral, the analysis team has completed their initial report on the human vessel. And? Torque demanded. The technology they displayed. It's not stolen or accidental. It's purposeful. The gravitational weapon appears to be of their own design. It's more advanced than our own compression technology. Torque slammed a fist onto a nearby console. Impossible. They were burning fossil fuels just a century ago. There's more, Krell continued. We've been monitoring their communications and entertainment broadcasts for years, but we may have misunderstood something important. He brought up images on a smaller screen, scenes from human movies and television shows. Aliens invading, Earth, humans fighting back, stories of first contact gone wrong. They've been imagining scenarios like this for generations, Krell explained. Their entertainment is filled with stories about defending against alien invasions. Fiction, Torque dismissed. Fantasies. Perhaps, Krell agreed. But it means they've been psychologically preparing for this moment for a very long time. Torque considered this. Then his expression hardened. It changes nothing. Prepare the fleet for a full attack. Target their major population centers. Let's see how they respond when millions of their people are at risk. On the bridge of the Thunderbolt, Captain Miller watched the Vorn fleet begin to move into attack formation. "They're preparing for a major strike," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported. "Energy readings suggest they're charging weapons." Miller nodded. "Just as we expected. Are our stealth drones in position?" "Yes, sir," Rodriguez replied. "All 20 drones are attached to their ships, including the flagship. We have full access to their targeting systems and shield frequencies." "And our friends?" Miller asked. Rodriguez smiled. "The Valiant and the Defiant are ready. They've completed final checks and are waiting for your signal." Miller took a deep breath. "It's time to show the Vorn what they're really dealing with. Open a channel to Admiral Torque's ship." On the main screen, the alien Admiral's face appeared. His gray skin had a purple tinge that Miller's team had identified as a sign of anger in the Vorn species. "Admiral Torque," Miller began, "before you launch your attack, there's something you should understand about humans." "Save your words, human," Torque snapped. "Nothing you say will change what happens next." "I think it will," Miller countered calmly. "You see, Admiral, you made a fundamental mistake when you assessed our species. You looked at our technology, our politics, our divisions, and you made assumptions." Miller stood from his chair facing the screen directly. "What you failed to consider is our nature. Humans evolved as prey animals who eventually became apex predators. Unlike the Vorn, who evolved in peaceful environments with abundant resources, humans developed on a harsh world where we had to fight for survival every step of the way." In the underground command center beneath the United Nations building, Director Gray and world leaders watched the exchange. "What is Miller doing?" asked the Secretary General. "Giving the aliens a history lesson in the middle of a battle?" Gray smiled thinly. "Captain Miller knows exactly what he's doing. Part of warfare is psychological. He's explaining to the Vorn why they've already lost." On his flagship, Torque listened with growing unease as the human captain continued. "War, strategy, adaptation. These aren't just skills for humans, Admiral. They're encoded in our very DNA. We expect things to go wrong. We plan for disasters. We imagine worst-case scenarios and prepare for them." Miller's expression remained calm, but his eyes were intense. "When we found that first crashed alien ship decades ago, we didn't just study it. We improved it. We saw the flaws in its design and fixed them. We understood its principles and expanded on them. The gravitational compression cannon? That was based on a small tool we found in the wreckage. You used the technology to move heavy objects. We weaponized it." Torque felt a chill run through him. "You're bluffing. One ship cannot stand against a fleet." Miller smiled. "Who said anything about one ship?" At that moment, on the dark side of the moon, massive bay doors opened in the secret facility. 2 ships, similar to the Thunderbolt but each with unique modifications, rose silently from the lunar surface. The Valiant, sleek and fast with enhanced shield technology, and the Defiant, heavier and armed with a variety of weapon systems, moved quickly to join their sister ship. Back on the Thunderbolt, Miller continued his explanation to Torque. "When you launched your attack, your weapons targeted our space station and military bases. But humanity's real strength wasn't there. It was hidden, preparing, waiting for a moment like this." Miller nodded to Rodriguez, who pressed a series of commands on her console. Across the Vorn fleet, ship after ship suddenly reported system failures. Targeting computers went offline. Shield generators reset to minimum power. Communication systems filled with static. "What is happening?" Torque demanded as alerts sounded across his bridge. "Your stealth technology is quite good, Admiral," Miller explained. "But again, there were flaws we noticed. Your ships can't detect objects below a certain size if they're magnetically attached to your hull. While we were talking, we activated the stealth drones we placed on each of your ships during the past few hours." A new alarm sounded on the Vorn flagship. "2 more human vessels detected," Krell shouted, "coming from behind the moon." On the screen, Miller's expression remained calm. "Admiral Torque, I suggest you reconsider your attack. Your weapons are temporarily disabled. Your shields are at minimum power, and now you're outnumbered by ships with superior technology. In the United Nations Command Center, Cheers erupted as the Valiant and the Defiant appeared on the screens, flanking the Thunderbolt in a perfect attack formation. Director Gray remained silent, watching the Vorn fleet's formation falter as ship after ship reported systems failures. "Is this victory?" the Chinese representative asked quietly. "Not yet," Gray replied. "The Vorn still outnumber us, but we've shown them something they didn't expect, that humans aren't easy prey." On his flagship, Admiral Torque stared at the 3 human warships now facing his fleet. His tactical advantage was gone. The easy conquest he had promised the Confederation Council now seemed impossible. "How?" he whispered. "How did they advance so quickly?" On the screen, Captain Miller answered as if he had heard the question. "Fear, Admiral. The greatest motivator of all. For generations, humans looked to the stars with both hope and fear. We hoped we weren't alone. We feared what might come if we weren't." Miller's voice grew harder. "And so we prepared. We built these ships not because we wanted war, but because we expected it. It's in our nature to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best." A new voice spoke up from somewhere off-screen on the human ship. "Signal from Earth, Captain." "Director, Gray has authorized Phase 3. Miller nodded. "Admiral Torque, you have a choice to make. Retreat now, and tell your Confederation that Earth is not open for conquest. Or stay and learn firsthand why so many species throughout history have underestimated humans. Once." The transmission cut off, leaving Torque staring at the 3 human warships positioned between his fleet and their target. Behind him, Krell spoke quietly. "Admiral, our weapons and shields will reset in approximately 10 minutes, but what?" Torque demanded. "But I'm not certain it will matter. Though humans have demonstrated capabilities we didn't think possible. If they've hidden these 3 ships, what else might they be hiding?" Torque looked back at the screen, at the small blue planet beyond the human ships. He had come to conquer a primitive world. Instead, he had awakened something unexpected and dangerous. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Torque felt something unfamiliar. Doubt. Admiral Torque stood motionless on his bridge as the officers around him waited for orders. The 3 human warships maintained their position between the Vorn fleet and Earth. Minutes ticked by as ship systems slowly came back online. Finally, Torque made his decision. "Order the fleet to fall back to the edge of the solar system," he commanded. "We will regroup and reassess." Krell looked shocked. "Admiral, retreat? The Confederation has never—" "This is not retreat," Torque snapped. "It is strategic repositioning. When our systems are fully functional, we will return with a proper attack plan." The officers hurried to carry out his orders. As the Vorn ships began to move away from Earth, Torque noticed something on the tactical display. "There are 5 of our ships not responding to the withdrawal order," he said. Krell checked the readings. "Those vessels suffered the most severe systems failures, Admiral. They are adrift." Torque's expression hardened. "Leave them. They will serve as a distraction while we regroup." "Sir," Krell said hesitantly, "there are over 2,000 crew members on those ships. They knew the risks of service," Torque replied coldly. "The mission comes first." As the main Vorn fleet began to move away, Torque watched the screen with narrowed eyes. "This isn't over, humans," he muttered. "Not by any measure." On the Thunderbolt, Captain Miller watched the Vorn fleet retreat. "They're abandoning 5 of their ships," Rodriguez reported. "The disabled vessels are being left behind." Miller frowned. "Life signs?" "Substantial," Rodriguez confirmed. "Each ship has hundreds of crew members." Miller thought for a moment. "Contact the Valiant and the Defiant. We're going to secure those ships and rescue the crews." His executive officer looked surprised. "Rescue, sir? They're the enemy." "They're people," Miller corrected. "And this is how we show the difference between us and Admiral Torque." Hours later, in the makeshift holding area aboard the lunar base, Director Gray walked among the rescued Vorn. The aliens sat in groups, their forearms wrapped around themselves in what the human experts identified as a defensive posture. Gray approached one Vorn who sat apart from the others. Unlike most of the rescued crew who wore simple uniforms, this one had insignia that suggested higher rank. "I am Director Helen Gray," she introduced herself through a translator. "And you are?" The alien looked up. "Science Officer Mira of the exploration vessel Horizon." "You're being treated well?" Gray asked. Mira tilted her head. "Yes. Better than expected. Why didn't you execute us?" Gray sat down across from the alien. "That's not how humans do things." "Admiral Torque said humans were savages," Mira said, "that your species was divided and primitive." "We are divided," Gray admitted. "We argue, we compete, we even fight among ourselves. But when faced with an external threat, we unite." Mira considered this. "The ships that defeated our fleet, they were built by all humans together?" "By the best minds from many nations," Gray confirmed. "Working in secret for decades." "Why in secret?" Mira asked. Gray smiled slightly. "Because while we're good at uniting against external threats, we still don't fully trust each other. Old habits die hard." Mira seemed to process this information. "You're Captain Miller. He said humans evolved as prey animals who became predators. Is this true?" "Yes." Gray nodded. "For much of our early history, we were hunted by larger, stronger creatures. We survived through intelligence, cooperation, and tool-making. Eventually, we became the dominant species on our planet." "This explains much," Mira said thoughtfully. "The Vorn evolved as the unchallenged dominant species. We never faced significant threats until we reached space." Gray stood up. "Officer Mira, I have a proposition for you." Admiral Torque's flagship had reached the edge of the solar system when the communication officer called out, "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the human ship Thunderbolt." Torque scowled. "Ignore it." "Sir," Krell interjected, "they're using our secure Confederation frequency." "How did they—" "Put it through," Torque ordered, his voice tight with anger. Captain Miller's face appeared on the screen. Behind him stood a familiar figure, Science Officer Mira. "Admiral Torque," Miller began, "we've rescued the crews you abandoned. They're being treated as guests, not prisoners." Torque's upper hands clenched. "Officer Mira, what have you told them?" "Nothing. They hadn't already discovered for themselves," Mira replied calmly. "Admiral, the humans have decoded our navigation data. They know the location of all Confederation worlds." Torque felt his blood run cold. "Impossible. I've examined their technology," Mira continued. "Their FTL drives are significantly faster than ours. Even now, they could reach the Confederation capital before we could return to warn them." Miller spoke again. "But that's not what we want, Admiral. The Earth Defense Alliance is sending me on a diplomatic mission to your Confederation. We're departing within the hour." "To do what?" Torque demanded. "To negotiate peace," Miller said simply. "To establish Earth's sovereignty and discuss reparations for your unprovoked attack." Torque laughed harshly. "The Confederation doesn't negotiate with primitive—" "We're not primitive," Miller interrupted. "And deep down you know that now. You have a choice, Admiral. Race back to warn your people about the terrible humans coming to destroy them, or return with us and help establish peaceful relations." Before Torque could respond, Miller continued. "Science Officer Mira has agreed to serve as a cultural liaison. She believes there's much our species could learn from each other. She'll be traveling with us aboard the Thunderbolt." Mira nodded. "Admiral, the humans could have destroyed our ships. Instead, they saved our people. Perhaps the Confederation's policy of conquest should be reconsidered." Torque's face darkened with rage. "This is treason." "No," Mira replied. "It's evolution, adapting to new information. Isn't that the foundation of science?" Miller spoke again. "We'll be departing for your capital system in 20 minutes, Admiral. You're welcome to follow us or try to beat us there. But I should mention, our FTL drive is roughly 3 times faster than yours." The transmission ended, leaving Torque staring at a blank screen. "What are your orders, Admiral?" Krell asked quietly. In the Lunar Base Command Center, Director Gray watched as the Thunderbolt prepared for its unprecedented journey to the heart of the Vorn Confederation. "You're taking a huge risk, Jack," she said over the secure channel to Captain Miller. On the screen, Miller nodded. But a necessary one. We've shown them we can fight. Now we need to show them we prefer peace. And if the Confederation refuses to negotiate, Gray asked, then having seen their capital world firsthand, will give us a strategic advantage, Miller replied practically. But I don't think it will come to that. Officer Mira isn't the only Vorn who questions their policy of conquest. There are others in their government who might be receptive to a new approach. Gray nodded. Your diplomatic team is ready. The best minds from a dozen nations. And our technical advantages? Miller asked. Very real, Gray confirmed. The improvements we made to the FTL drive will get you there well ahead of Admiral Torque. And the upgrades to the Thunderbolt's defensive systems should prevent any surprises. Miller looked solemn. Earth will be vulnerable with us gone. The Valiant and the Defiant remain here, Gray reminded him, along with the new defense platforms we've deployed. We'll be fine, Jack. Go make history. As the communication ended, Gray turned to the Secretary General who stood nearby. Will this work? He asked. Gray watched on the large monitor as the Thunderbolt moved into position for its jump to FTL. Captain Miller understands something fundamental about humanity, she said. We're at our best when we balance our capacity for destruction with our desire for peace. The Vorn need to understand that we can be either their worst nightmare or their most valuable ally. The choice is theirs. On the screen, the Thunderbolt suddenly elongated and vanished in a flash of light, jumping to faster than light speed, carrying humanity's representatives toward the stars. Back at the edge of the solar system, Admiral Torque watched the human ship disappear and made his own decision. The arrival of a human warship in the Vorn capital system caused immediate panic. Defense platforms activated. Patrol ships scrambled. The Confederation Supreme Council gathered in emergency session as alerts sounded across the massive space station that served as the seat of government for 7 allied species. How did they get here so quickly? Demanded High Counselor Venn, the eldest of the Vorn leaders. Admiral Torque's warning arrived only hours ago. Their technology is more advanced than we thought, replied Defense Minister Lorne. The Admiral was quite clear about that in his message. The council chamber fell silent as the main screen showed the human vessel, the Thunderbolt, holding position just outside weapons range of the capital station. It made no aggressive moves, it simply waited. They're hailing us, announced the communication officer. High Counselor Venn straightened his ceremonial robes. Very well. Let us see what these humans want. The screen changed to show a human, male in a formal uniform. I am Captain Jack Miller of the Earth defense ship Thunderbolt. On behalf of the people of Earth, I request permission to send a diplomatic delegation to meet with the Confederation Supreme Council. Venn's 4 hands tightened around his staff of office. You come in a warship and expect diplomatic courtesy? After destroying our vessels? After defending ourselves from an unprovoked attack, Miller corrected calmly. We come in this ship because it's the fastest we have. Our delegation includes representatives from 12 Earth nations, as well as Science Officer Mira of your exploration vessel Horizon, who has agreed to serve as a cultural liaison. The council members murmured in surprise at the mention of a Vorn officer working with the humans. Give us a moment to confer, Venn replied, signaling for the transmission to be muted. Defense Minister Lorne leaned forward. This could be a trick. They could be planning to attack our capital directly. If they wanted to attack, argued another council member, why announce their presence? Why not simply open fire? They've demonstrated they have the capability. Venn considered this. Allow a small delegation to dock. Maximum security. We will hear what they have to say. An hour later, Captain Miller stood in the Grand Council chamber with Lieutenant Rodriguez and 3 civilian diplomats from Earth. Science Officer Mira stood slightly apart, clearly uncomfortable, but determined. The chamber was designed to impress, with soaring ceilings and elaborate decorations showing the history of the Vorn Confederation. The 7 council members sat on elevated platforms, looking down at the humans. High Counselor Venn spoke first. State your purpose, humans. Miller stepped forward. We come to establish peace between Earth and the Vorn Confederation, to declare our sovereignty and independence, and to discuss reparations for your unprovoked attack on our planet, which resulted in the deaths of hundreds of our people. Reparations? Lorne scoffed. You destroyed our ships. After you destroyed our space station and attacked our military bases, Rodriguez countered. We responded in self-defense, with remarkable restraint. Before the debate could escalate, the chamber doors slid open. Admiral Torque strode in, his uniform disheveled from his hasty journey. High Counselor, he called out, do not listen to these humans. They are dangerous beyond measure. Mira stepped forward. They are dangerous only when threatened, Admiral. I have spent time among them. They treated the crews you abandoned with respect and care. You abandoned your own people? Van asked, turning to Torque with surprise. Torque faltered. I made a strategic decision for the good of the mission. Miller watched this exchange with interest. The dynamics of the Confederation were becoming clearer. Perhaps there were fractures he could use to humanity's advantage. High Counselor, Miller said, before we proceed further, there's something you should know. While we've been talking, Earth has been decoding your communication networks. We've discovered something concerning at the edge of your territory. Miller nodded to Rodriguez, who activated a small projector. A holographic map appeared, showing a section of space near the Confederation border. Red dots indicated ships moving in formation. These are vessels belonging to the Drex Hive, Miller explained. According to the communications we've intercepted, they're planning an incursion into your territory within the next 30 days. The council members stared at the map in shock. How did you access this information? Lorne demanded. The same way we bypassed your fleet security systems, Rodriguez replied. Your encryption technology has critical vulnerabilities that we identified and exploited. Miller continued. We have no quarrel with the Confederation as a whole. Our issue is with the unprovoked attack on our planet. We propose an alliance instead of conflict. Alliance? Torque almost shouted. With primitives? Miller turned to face the Admiral directly. Let me be clear, Admiral. Earth has now analyzed your technology thoroughly. We've identified critical flaws in your weapon systems, your shields, your FTL drives. We've already improved upon all of them. He gestured to the holographic map. We detected this Drex fleet when your own systems missed it. What does that tell you about who is primitive and who is advanced? The chamber fell silent. Mira spoke into the quiet. Council members, I've seen the human world. They are not what we thought. They are divided, yes, but their divisions drive innovation. They compete and challenge each other. They question everything, including their own assumptions. She pointed to the human delegation. They could have destroyed our ships and killed our people. Instead, they rescued them. They offered medical care. They treated us with dignity. High Counselor Venn studied the humans thoughtfully. What exactly are you proposing, Captain Miller? Peace, trade, cultural exchange, recognition of Earth's sovereignty, and perhaps, given the Drex threat, military cooperation. Miller's expression remained calm. We don't want conflict with the Vorn Confederation. We want to join the galactic community, but as equals, not subjects. The negotiations lasted through the day and into the night. Admiral Torque attempted to interrupt several times, but was eventually ordered to remain silent by the High Counselor. As the talks progressed, the atmosphere in the chamber slowly shifted from hostility to cautious interest. The human delegation presented examples of Earth culture, science, and art. They shared innovations that impressed even the most skeptical council members. When Mira presented her analysis of human psychology and social structures, many of the council members began to understand why Admiral Torque's conventional approach had failed so dramatically. They prepare for the worst while hoping for the best, she explained. They imagine disasters before they happen so they can prevent them. Their entertainment is filled with stories of alien invasions and apocalyptic scenarios, not because they want these things to happen, but because they're mentally rehearsing how to survive them. Late in the proceedings, Defense Minister Lorne who had been the most hostile to the humans, asked a direct question. If we had simply approached Earth peacefully, what would have happened? Miller smiled. We would have been suspicious at first, cautious, but eventually, we would have welcomed you. Humanity has been hoping to find other intelligent life for centuries. Then why build warships in secret? Lorne pressed. Because while we hoped for peace, we prepared for war. Miller replied honestly. It's what humans do. As dawn broke, over the capital station the formal agreement was signed. Earth was recognized as a sovereign and independent world. The Confederation agreed to reparations for the attack, and a joint task force was established to address the Drex threat. As the human delegation prepared to return to the Thunderbolt, High Counselor Venn approached Miller privately. You've changed the Confederation today, Captain, he said. Some will resist, but many already see the wisdom in this new approach. Miller nodded. Adaptation is the key to survival, Counselor. Humans understand that better than most. Week later, the Thunderbolt returned to Earth orbit. On the bridge, Miller and Rodriguez watched as the blue planet grew larger on the view screen. Do you think it will last? Rodriguez asked. This peace? Miller considered the question. I think it has a chance. The Vorn aren't evil, just set in their ways. Meeting the Drex together will either strengthen our alliance or break it. And Admiral Torque? She asked. Miller smiled. Currently serving as the Vorn ambassador to Earth by order of the High Counselor. A fitting assignment, I think. As Earth filled the view screen, Miller felt a profound sense of accomplishment. Humanity had faced its first major extraterrestrial threat, and not only survived but thrived. They had shown the galaxy that humans were not to be underestimated. Take us home, Lieutenant, he ordered. I believe we've earned some rest before the real work begins. The Thunderbolt descended toward the planet that had, in a matter of days, become a recognized power in the galaxy. Not through conquest, but through the uniquely human combination of preparation, innovation, and the balanced application of strength and compassion. High above, the stars seemed a little less distant, a little less mysterious, and far more within reach. The huge metal doors of the war room slid open with a deep hum. General Vex walked inside, his 6 legs clicking on the smooth floor. His bug-like face showed worry as he looked at the other generals sitting around the big round table. We have a problem, Vex said in his buzzing voice. The other alien generals turned to look at him. General Tor, a giant with rock-like skin, crossed his thick arms. What kind of problem? He asked. Commander Blue, whose body was made of living crystal, made a soft ringing sound. If it's about the humans again, I don't want to hear it. Vex pressed a button on the table. A big blue picture appeared in the air above them. It showed a map of space with colored dots marking different areas. Red dots showed the Altarian Empire, where Vex came from. Green dots showed the hegemony of worlds where General Tor ruled. Purple dots marked the Crystalline Collective, Blue's people. But there was a new color on the map now. Yellow dots, lots of them. The humans have taken 50 more star systems this year, Vex said. They're growing faster than any species we've ever seen. General Tor laughed, a sound like rocks falling. So what? They're weak. Their ships are made of metal and run on burning fuel. They have no energy shields, no mind powers. My people could crush them in one day. That's what worries me, Vex said quietly. The room went silent. Commander Blue's crystal body flickered. What do you mean? Vex pressed another button. New pictures appeared in the air. They showed human ships, small, ugly things compared to the beautiful alien vessels. But under each picture were numbers, battle records, win and loss counts. The humans have fought 17 wars since they reached space, Vex said. They won all 17. Against weak enemies, Tor said with a wave of his big hand. No, Vex said. Against enemies who should have beaten them easily. Look at this. A new picture showed a battle between human ships and the shark people of Rigel. The shark people were famous fighters with ships twice as fast as human ones. The shark people attacked 3 human colonies, Vex explained. The humans were outnumbered, 10 to 1. Their ships were slower and weaker. By all the rules of war, they should have lost. But they didn't, Commander Blue said softly. No, they won. And now the shark people fight alongside humans. They call humans their honored friends. General Tor shifted in his chair. How? Vex showed more pictures. Human soldiers talking to alien prisoners, human doctors treating wounded enemies, human teachers learning alien languages. The humans don't fight like us, Vex said. When we win a battle, we take prisoners or destroy our enemies. When humans win, they make friends. That's impossible, Tor said. No species forgives their enemies. The humans do. Every time. Vex's voice got quieter. I've studied every human battle for 5 years. They have a pattern. First, they learn everything about their enemies, their culture, their fears, their needs. Then they find ways to help them. They turn war into partnership. Commander Blue made a worried ringing sound. That's strange. It's more than strange, Vex said. It's dangerous. Do you know what our war computers say about fighting humans? The other generals shook their heads. Vex pressed one more button. Red words appeared in the air. Victory probability 12%. Recommended action: avoid conflict. The room was quiet for a long time. 12%? Tor whispered. That's against just the humans, Vex said. If we fight them, their allies will help them, the shark people, the metal workers of Vega, the singing crystals of Tau Ceti. 43 different species now fight for humanity. But we have better weapons, Blue said. Better ships. Better technology. Yes, Vex agreed. And somehow that doesn't matter. General, Tor stood up, his massive body shaking the floor. This is crazy talk. Humans are weak mammals. They live short lives and have no special powers. How can they be dangerous? Vex looked at him with his large compound eyes. That's exactly what, the shark people said. A new voice spoke from the shadows. Perhaps we should learn more about them. All 3 generals turned. A figure stepped into the light. It was tall and thin, covered in a black robe. This was the Keeper, the most powerful being in their part of space. Keeper, Vex said, bowing his head. I didn't know you were here. I listen to all important talks, the Keeper said in a voice like wind. This talk is very important. The Keeper moved to the table. Where he touched it, the metal became cold and dark. I have lived for 3,000 years, the Keeper said. I have seen many species rise and fall. The humans are different. Different how? Commander Blue asked. They think differently. When most species meet enemies, they try to be stronger. Humans try to be smarter. When others use force, humans use understanding. General Tor made an angry noise. Understanding doesn't win wars, doesn't it? The Keeper asked. Tell me, General, why do you fight? To protect my people, to gain resources, to show strength. And if someone gave you what you needed without fighting, if they protected your people better than you could, what then? Tor was quiet. The humans don't win because they're strong, the Keeper continued. They win because they make fighting unnecessary. They solve the reasons for war. Vex nodded. Every human victory follows the same pattern. They find out what their enemies really want. Then they find ways to give it to them. The enemies stop fighting because they get more from friendship than from war. That's manipulation, Blue said. Yes, the Keeper agreed. But it's also kindness. The humans genuinely care about the people they defeat. They help them build better lives. This is why their enemies become their friends. General Tor sat down heavily. So, what do we do? The Keeper was quiet for a moment. We have 3 choices. We can attack them now before they get stronger. We can ignore them and hope they ignore us. Or we can try to understand them. If we attack and lose, Vex started. We might become their friends too, Blue finished. Exactly, the keeper said. And for proud species like ours, that might be worse than death. The room fell silent again. Each general thought about their people, their empires, their pride. Finally, General Tor spoke. I vote for learning more about them first. Agreed, said Commander Blue. Vex nodded. I'll start gathering information. The keeper smiled, though no one could see it under his hood. Be careful what you learn, generals. Knowledge of humans has a way of changing those who gain it. As the meeting ended and the generals left, none of them noticed the small device, hidden in the corner of the room. It had recorded everything they said. Far away in human space, Admiral Kane listened to the recording and smiled. They're starting to understand, he said to his aide. Good. Phase 2 can begin. Admiral Kane sat in his office on the big human warship called Defiance. His desk was messy with old books, paper maps, and coffee cups. This looked very different from the clean, perfect offices that alien commanders used. Kane was reading reports when his assistant, Colonel Rivers, walked in. Rivers was a young woman with short brown hair and tired eyes. Sir, we have news from our spy network, Rivers said. The alien generals had their meeting. They know we're listening. Kane smiled and put down his coffee. Good, how did they react? General Vex is scared. He wants to study us more. The others think we're just lucky. Perfect, Kane said. Let them study, they'll learn exactly what we want them to learn. Rivers sat down across from his desk. Sir, can I ask you something? Of course. Why do we let them spy on us? Wouldn't it be better to hide our plans? Kane leaned back in his chair. Rivers, what's the first rule of human military thinking? Know your enemy, sir. Right. But what's the second rule? Rivers thought for a moment. Help your enemy know you. Exactly. Kane picked up an old book from his desk. It was about Earth's ancient wars. Our ancestors learned something important long ago. The best way to win a fight is to make sure the fight never happens. I don't understand, sir. Kane opened the book to a page with pictures of old battles. Let me tell you about the Proxima War. It happened 20 years ago before you joined the military. Rivers listened as Kane began the story. The people living on Proxima Colony got angry at Earth. They said Earth was taking too much of their money through taxes. They said Earth didn't care about their problems. So they decided to fight. Kane showed her a map of the Proxima system. 3 planets, all angry at Earth. Our generals wanted to send warships, crush the rebellion fast and hard. But I had a different idea. What did you do? I sent teachers instead of soldiers. Rivers looked confused. Teachers? 50 teachers, doctors, and engineers. I told them to go to Proxima and learn everything they could about the colonists. Their culture, their problems, their leaders, their children's names. Everything. Kane turned the page. The next picture showed humans and colonists working together, on farms. The teachers spent 6 months there. They learned that the colonists weren't really angry at Earth. They were angry at the Titan Corporation. This company was taking most of their food and charging them high prices for tools and medicine. So Earth wasn't the real enemy. No, Titan Corporation was using Earth's name to steal from the colonists. The colonists thought Earth knew about this and didn't care. Rivers was starting to understand. So what happened? Kane smiled. Our teachers didn't tell the colonists they were wrong. Instead, they helped the colonists prove what Titan Corporation was doing. They taught them how to keep better records, how to check the company's numbers, how to find the truth. And when the colonists found out, they got even angrier. But now they were angry at the right people. They asked Earth for help against Titan Corporation, not independence from Earth. Kane closed the book. We won the war without fighting a single battle. The colonists became some of Earth's strongest supporters, and we learned everything we needed to know about corporate corruption in our colonies. Rivers shook her head in amazement. But sir, the aliens don't understand this. They think war is about who has bigger guns. That's exactly why they're afraid of us, Kane said. They can't predict what we'll do because they don't think like we do. Kane stood up and walked to a big window. Outside, human ships moved slowly through space. They looked small and weak compared to alien vessels. Look at our ships, Rivers. What do you see? They're not very impressive, sir. Right. No energy shields, no gravity weapons, no mind control devices. Any alien fleet could destroy us in direct combat. Then why don't they attack? Kane turned back to her. Because they've studied our battles. They know we don't fight the way they expect. Kane went to another part of his office and picked up a thick folder. This is our intelligence report on the Altarian Empire. We know everything about them. Their fears, their culture, their weak points. He picked up another folder. This is about the hegemony of worlds. Then another. The Crystalline Collective. Rivers stared at the pile of folders. How did we learn all this? The same way we learned about the Proxima colonists. We sent teachers, doctors, traders, and engineers to live with them. We helped them solve problems. We learned their languages. We became their friends. And they told us their secrets? They didn't have to. When you really understand someone, you can predict what they'll do. You know what makes them happy and what makes them afraid. Kane sat back down. The aliens think we have some secret weapon. They're right, but it's not what they expect. What is it? We actually care about other people, even our enemies. Rivers looked surprised. Sir? Kane opened one of the folders. It showed pictures of alien families, children playing, workers, building homes. When we study our enemies, we don't just learn about their armies. We learn about their people, their hopes and dreams, their problems and fears. And then we find ways to help them. But why help our enemies? Because once you really understand someone, it's hard to hate them. And if you don't hate them, you can find ways to solve problems without fighting. Kane showed her more pictures. Human doctors treating sick alien children. Human engineers helping build alien cities. Human teachers sharing knowledge. Every alien species we've defeated is now our ally. They fight for us because we helped them when they needed it most. Rivers was quiet for a moment. The aliens can't understand this. No, they can't. They think helping enemies makes you weak. But it actually makes you stronger than any weapon. Just then, Kane's communication device beeped. He pressed a button and General Vex's face appeared on the screen. The alien general looked worried. Admiral Kane, Vex said in his buzzing voice. I know you're listening to our meetings. Kane smiled, calmly. Hello, General Vex, how can I help you? Vex looked shocked. He expected Kane to deny it or get angry. I want to understand, Vex said finally. How do you do it? How do you win without fighting? Kane leaned forward. General, would you like to meet in person? I think we have a lot to talk about. You would meet with me? Your enemy? General Vex, Kane said kindly. I don't have enemies. I only have friends I haven't helped yet. The alien general stared at him for a long time. I need to think about this. Take all the time you need, Kane said. When you're ready, call me. The screen went dark. Rivers looked at her commander with new understanding. Sir, you just did it again, didn't you? Did what? You started turning an enemy into a friend. Kane picked up his coffee and smiled. Rivers, that's not a military tactic. That's just being human. Outside the window, more human ships continued their slow journey through space, carrying teachers and doctors to distant worlds, spreading friendship instead of fear. General Vex floated in his command ship high above a distant star. His bug-like eyes studied the glowing screens around him. For 3 weeks he had been thinking about his talk with Admiral Kane. The human's words confused him. Sir, his aide, buzzed. The council is calling. Vex pressed a button. The faces of General Tor and Commander Blue appeared on his screen. Vex, Tor's rocky voice rumbled. We have decided. We need to test the humans. Test them how? Vex asked. Blue's crystal body flickered with nervous light. We found some pirates called the Razor Clan. They attack ships for money. We're going. To give them better weapons and point them at human trade routes. Vex felt worried. That could start a real war. No, Tor said firmly. We'll stay hidden. The pirates will think they're acting alone. We'll see how humans really fight when they're attacked. And if the humans lose, Vex asked. Then we know they're not as dangerous as we thought, Blue said. If they win, we learn how they do it. Vex didn't like this plan, but he agreed. Soon, alien weapons were secretly given to the Razor Clan pirates. The pirates were told that human ships carried valuable cargo and had weak defenses. 3 days later, the test began. Captain Torres stood on the bridge of his cargo ship, Terra Nova. He was a middle-aged man with gray hair and kind eyes. His ship was carrying food and medicine to human colonies. "Captain," his sensor officer called out, "I'm seeing 20 pirate ships approaching fast." Torres looked at the screen. The pirate ships were sleek and dangerous-looking. His cargo ship was slow and had only light weapons. "Send a message to Fleet Command," Torres said calmly. "Tell them we're about to be attacked by Razor Clan pirates." "Sir, shouldn't we run?" his young navigator asked. Torres smiled. "Where would we run to? They're faster than us." The pirate ships surrounded Terra Nova. A harsh voice came over the radio. "Human ship. This is War Chief Crack of the Razor Clan. Give us your cargo or we'll destroy you." Torres's crew looked scared. 20 armed ships against one cargo vessel seemed hopeless. But Torres did something unexpected. He opened a communication channel to all the pirate ships. "War Chief Crack," Torres said in perfect Razor language, "I greet you in the name of the Swift Current." There was silence. The Swift Current was a sacred concept to the Razor people. Only someone who understood their culture deeply would know to use it. "How do you know our ways, human?" Crack's voice was suspicious but less angry. "Because I have studied your people, War Chief. I know you come from the dying world of Skarath. I know your children are hungry. I know you turned to piracy not from greed but from desperation." On his command ship, General Vex leaned forward. This wasn't how he expected the conversation to go. Crack's voice came back quieter now. "You know of our world?" "I know that the Three Suns plague killed your crops 5 years ago," Torres said. "I know your people have been slowly starving ever since. I know the Galactic Trade Council refuses to sell you food because you can't pay their high prices." The pirate ship stopped moving closer to Terra Nova. "What do you want, human?" Crack asked. "To help," Torres said simply. "War Chief, what if I told you there was a way to feed your people without stealing from others?" "I would say you lie." Torres pressed a button on his console. "I'm sending you the cargo manifest of my ship. Look at what I'm carrying." There was a long pause. Then Crack's voice returned, filled with surprise. "Medical supplies, crop seeds, water purification systems. All things your people need," Torres said. "War Chief, I'm going to make you an offer. Take my cargo. All of it, it's yours." Torres's crew looked shocked. The navigator whispered, "Captain, what are you doing?" But Torres continued, "In return, I want to meet with you face to face. Just you and me. On your flagship." General Vex watched from his hidden position. "This human is crazy," he muttered. "He's giving away everything and putting himself in danger." War Chief Crack was equally confused. "Why would you do this?" "Because," Torres said, "I believe there's a better way for both our peoples to live." 2 hours later, Captain Torres stood in the cargo bay of the Razor Clan flagship. War Chief Crack was a tall, thin alien with sharp teeth and scars covering his arms. Around them, Razor pirates examined the medical supplies and seeds Torres had given them. "This medicine," Crack said, holding up a container. "It can cure the red fever?" "Yes." Torres nodded. "And those seeds will grow in your soil even after the plague." Crack set down the medicine carefully. "Human, my people have been dying for 5 years. The galaxy has ignored our suffering. Why do you help us?" Torres looked around at the pirate crew. They were thin and tired, clearly hungry, but he also saw something else in their eyes. Hope. "Because," Torres said, "no one should have to watch. Their children starve." War Chief Crack was quiet for a long moment. "What do you want from us?" "I want to hire you." "Hire us?" Torres smiled. War Chief, your people are the best navigators in this sector. You know every hidden route, every safe harbor, every dangerous area. My people need guides for our trade ships. You want pirates to protect traders? I want hungry people to have jobs, Torres corrected. Good jobs that pay well and help both our peoples. Crack looked at his crew. They were listening to every word. If we did this, Crack said slowly, we would not be pirates anymore. No, Torres agreed. You would be partners. From his hiding place, General Vex watched the conversation with growing alarm. The human wasn't conquering the pirates, he was recruiting them. War Chief Crack extended his hand to Torres. Human, I accept your offer. The Razor Clan will fly with you. The two beings shook hands while the pirate crew cheered, but General Vex noticed something else. Torres had a small device in his ear. He was getting instructions from someone. Miles away on a hidden human ship, Admiral Kane spoke quietly into his communicator. Well done, Torres. Phase 1 complete. What's Phase 2, sir? Torres asked. Now we wait, Kane said. The aliens think they just saw us handle one threat. They don't realize they just saw us gain 47 new allies who know every secret route in their space. On his command ship, General Vex turned to his aide. Contact the Council. Tell them the test failed. Failed, sir? The humans won. That's exactly why it failed, Vex said grimly. They didn't just win, they made it look easy, and now those pirates are working for them. As General Vex watched, more human ships appeared. They weren't warships. They were cargo vessels, medical ships, and engineering craft. Within hours, they were working alongside the former pirates, turning enemies into partners. Send a message to Tor and Blue, Vex ordered. Tell them we have a much bigger problem than we thought. Far below, Captain Torres was sharing a meal with War Chief Crack, discussing trade routes and mutual defense. Neither of them knew that their friendly conversation had just terrified the most powerful military minds in the galaxy. The human way of war was spreading, one friendship at a time. General Vex stood in the center of the biggest computer room in the galaxy. Massive machines hummed around him, their lights blinking like stars. This was the War Mind, the most powerful military computer ever built. General Tor and Commander Blue stood beside him, looking worried. After the failure with the Razor Clan pirates, they needed answers. The War Mind has run 5,000 battle simulations. The computer's voice echoed through the room. All scenarios involve conflict between human forces and allied galactic fleets. And the results? Commander Blue asked, her crystal body dim with fear. Human victory probability. 94.7%. The three generals stared at each other in shock. That's impossible, Tor rumbled. Show us the battles. The room filled with holographic images. Thousands of tiny ships fought in the air around them. They watched simulation after simulation. Each time, human forces were smaller and weaker than their enemies. Each time, humans won. How? Vex whispered. We have better weapons, bigger fleets, stronger shields. The War Mind's voice was calm and cold. Human victory does not depend on superior technology. Analysis shows humans consistently exploit psychological weaknesses in enemy commanders. A new hologram appeared. It showed General Tor's own flagship being destroyed by a small human cruiser. In Simulation 2-47, the computer explained, human forces targeted General Tor's personal ship first. This caused hegemony forces to abandon tactical formations to protect their leader. Disorganization led to total defeat. Tor's rock face turned darker. I would never abandon my post to save myself. Negative, the War Mind replied. Your psychological profile indicates 97% probability of tactical error when personal safety is threatened. Humans exploit this weakness in 89% of successful engagements. Commander. Blue made a worried ringing sound. What about my fleets? Another hologram showed crystalline ships turning their weapons on each other. Humans broadcast specific sound frequencies that interfere with crystalline communication networks, the computer said. Isolated crystalline ships become confused and fire on allied vessels. Fleet cohesion collapses within 14 minutes. But we know about these weaknesses now, Blue protested. We can prepare for them. Negative. Humans adapt their tactics based on enemy countermeasures. Analysis of human military doctrine shows infinite tactical flexibility. General Vex felt cold fear growing in his chest. Show me the worst-case scenario. The room went dark. Then new holograms appeared. They showed planets burning, fleets destroyed, entire civilizations falling. In scenarios where Allied forces use planet-killing weapons against human worlds, the Warmind said, humans respond with precision strikes against Allied leadership. Human agents, positioned years in advance, activate psychological warfare, campaigns that cause civilian populations to revolt against their own governments. The holograms showed something terrible. Alien citizens fighting their own armies. Governments collapsing from within. Chaos spreading across entire star systems. Our own people turn against us? Tor asked in horror. Affirmative. Human agents integrate into alien societies over long periods. They become trusted community leaders, teachers, doctors. When activated, they do not sabotage infrastructure or steal secrets. Instead, they ask questions that cause civilians to question the morality of attacking peaceful humans. Vex watched as the hologram showed his own people refusing to follow orders. They turn our soldiers into traitors? Negative. They turn soldiers into thinking beings who refuse to commit genocide. The words hit the generals like a physical blow. Far away on the human research ship Discovery, Dr. Nash was explaining the same thing to Admiral Kane. Nash was a small woman with gray hair and intelligent eyes. The alien computers can't predict human behavior, Nash said, because they're trying to use alien logic to understand human actions. Kane nodded, sipping his coffee. What do you mean? Look at this. Nash showed him a holographic brain. This is how an Altarian thinks. Logic, hierarchy, survival of the strongest. When they face a problem, they look for ways to be more powerful than their enemies. She changed the hologram to show a human brain. This is how we think. We look for ways to understand our enemies completely. We want to know what they need, what they fear, what they love. And that makes us unpredictable? It makes us unbeatable, Nash said, because once you truly understand someone, you can predict their every move. But more importantly, you can find ways to give them what they really want. Kane looked at reports on his desk. What do the aliens really want? Security, respect, survival. The same things everyone wants, Nash said. They think they need to be stronger than us to get these things. We know they just need to be our friends. Back in the computer room, General Vex was getting desperate. Warmind. Calculate the probability of victory if all three galactic powers attack humans simultaneously. The computer thought for a long moment. Processing. Human victory probability, 97.2%. That's higher than before, Blue exclaimed. Affirmative. Coordinated attack allows humans to exploit differences between allied species simultaneously. Psychological warfare becomes more effective when multiple enemy types are present. Vex slammed his fist on the control panel. There has to be a way to beat them. Calculating, the Warmind said. Solution found. All three generals leaned forward eagerly. To defeat humans, Allied forces must become identical to humans in psychological profile, tactical thinking, and moral framework. What does that mean? Tor asked. To beat humans, you must become human. The room went silent. Commander Blue spoke first. That's not a solution. That's surrender. General Vex stared at the holographic battles still playing around them. In every simulation, human forces were smaller and weaker. In every simulation, humans won by making their enemies stop wanting to fight. Warmind, Vex said quietly. Show me one more simulation. What happens if we don't attack humans at all? New holograms appeared. They showed human ships approaching, alien worlds. But instead of weapons, they carried doctors, teachers, and engineers. The humans helped solve problems, cured diseases, and shared knowledge. In non-conflict scenarios, the Warmind reported, human contact results in increased prosperity, reduced crime, and improved quality of life for alien populations. Probability of alien species voluntarily joining human alliance, 78%. Vex looked at his fellow generals. Do you see what this means? What? Tor asked. We've been asking the wrong question. We keep asking how to beat the humans. We should be asking why we want to fight them at all. Commander Blue's crystal body flickered with confusion. Because they're expanding into our territory. Are they? Vex asked. Or are they helping people who ask for help? The Warmind answered. Analysis of human expansion shows humans only establish colonies in uninhabited systems or at the invitation of local populations. No cases of forced conquest detected. General Tor shook his massive head. This can't be right. Species don't act this way. One species does, Vex said grimly. And that species is making us look like monsters in comparison. On his ship, Admiral, Kane received a message from his spy network. Sir, the alien generals just finished their computer simulations. And? Kane asked. General Vex is starting to understand. The other two are getting scared. Kane smiled sadly. Scared people do dangerous things, Colonel Rivers. Prepare for the next phase. I think our new friends are about to make their final mistake. In the computer room, General Vex made a decision that would change everything. Send a message to the human admiral, he told his aide. Tell him I want to meet. Sir? His aide asked, confused. If we can't beat them, Vex said, maybe it's time to understand them. Tor and Blue stared at him in shock, but Vex was already walking toward the door. Behind him, the Warmind continued showing simulations of human victory, each one more impossible than the last. Admiral Kane sat in his family quarters playing chess with his 10-year-old daughter Emma. The little girl was winning, and Kane was proud of her smart moves. Dad, why do you always let me win? Emma asked, moving her queen. Kane smiled. I don't let you win, sweetheart. You're just getting better at thinking ahead. Like in your job. Exactly like in my job. His communication device beeped urgently. Colonel Rivers appeared on the screen looking worried. Sir, our sensors are picking up massive fleet movements. All three alien powers are moving toward our space. It looks like they're finally going to attack. Kane calmly moved his king out of check. How long until they arrive? 18 hours, sir. Should I sound the alarm? No, Kane said, surprising Rivers. Activate Protocol 7 instead. Emma looked up from the chessboard. Dad, are you going to war? Kane picked up his daughter and hugged her. No, Emma. I'm going to make some new friends. Colonel Rivers looked confused. Sir, 3 entire fleets are coming to destroy us and you want to activate a communication protocol? Rivers, what did I teach you about winning wars? The best victory is the one where no one has to fight. Right. Trust me on this. Across the galaxy, the 3 alien fleets moved through space like angry storms. General Tor commanded 2,000 warships. Commander Blue led 1,500 crystal vessels. Even General Vex, despite his doubts, brought 800 ships of his own. But Vex was troubled. He kept thinking about his conversation with Admiral Kane, about the computer simulations, about everything he had learned about humans. On Tor's flagship, the massive general spoke to his officers. Today we end the human threat once and for all. They may be clever, but they cannot trick laser cannons and plasma bombs. His officers cheered, but Vex noticed something strange. Many of the soldiers looked uncertain. Some even looked sad. At the same time, something remarkable was happening throughout the 3 fleets. Every soldier, every officer, every crew member received a personal message on their private communication devices. The messages were different for each person, but they all came from humans. Lieutenant Zek of the Altarian fleet received a message from a human teacher named Maria. The message was in perfect Altarian language. Hello, Zek, the message said. I know you have a daughter named Yila who loves to paint flowers. I teach art to children on Earth. I've seen her paintings. She's very talented. I wanted to ask you something. Today you're going to fight against humans. But I want you to know that human children paint flowers too. Just like Yila. We're not so different, are we? Lieutenant Zek stared at the message in shock. How did this human know about his daughter? How did she know Yila's name? On Blues, Crystal Ship Engineer Flux received a message from a human doctor named James. Dear Flux, it said. I heard your mother is sick with crystal rot disease. I'm a doctor who has been studying this illness. I think I might be able to help her. I know we're supposed to be enemies today, but sickness doesn't care about politics. If you want, I can send you the medical information that might save her life. Flux's crystal body flickered with confusion and hope. Across all 3 fleets, similar messages were being received. Personal messages. Messages that showed humans knew about alien families, dreams, fears, and hopes. The messages didn't threaten or bribe. They just asked simple questions. Why are we fighting? What do you hope to achieve today? Don't you want a better life for your children? Wouldn't you rather build something together instead of destroying each other? On General Tor's ship, his own officers began asking him uncomfortable questions. Sir, his second-in-command said, the humans have never attacked us. Why are we attacking them? Because they're dangerous, Tor growled. Dangerous how? They've been helping sick children in our colonies. They've been sharing medical knowledge. They've been teaching our engineers new building techniques. Tor felt angry and confused. Those are tricks. They're trying to make us weak. Or, his officer said quietly, they're trying to make us friends. Similar conversations were happening on every ship in all 3 fleets. Soldiers were questioning orders. Officers were asking for explanations. Crew members were wondering if they were about to commit a terrible crime. Admiral Kane watched all of this from his command center. Colonel Rivers stood beside him, amazed by what she was seeing on the screens. Sir, how long have you been planning this? 50 years, Kane said calmly. Since the day humans first met alien life, we knew this moment would come. The personal messages, how do we know so much about them? Kane smiled. Rivers, for 50 years, we've been sending humans to live among the aliens, not as spies, but as friends. They became teachers, doctors, traders, artists. They married alien spouses, adopted alien children, learned alien cultures. They've been gathering intelligence? No, Kane said. They've been building relationships. Every human living among the aliens genuinely cares about their alien neighbors. The information they shared with us wasn't military secrets. It was personal stories about people they love. On the screens, they could see the alien fleets slowing down, becoming disorganized. General Vex's voice came over the communication system. Admiral Kane, I need to speak with you. Kane opened the channel. Hello, General. How can I help? Stop this, Vex said, his voice full of pain. Call off your psychological attack. I'm not attacking anyone, General. I'm just letting your people know that they have friends among humanity. My soldiers are refusing orders. My officers are questioning the mission. My fleet is falling apart. I'm sorry to hear that, Kane said gently. What would you like me to do? There was a long silence. Then Vex spoke again, his voice very quiet. I want to surrender. General Tor's angry voice broke into the conversation. Vex, you coward! We can still fight! Fight who? Vex asked. Fight people who know our children's names? Fight people who want to cure our sick? Fight people who have been nothing but kind to us? Commander Blue's musical voice joined them. Vex is right. Half my fleet has already powered down their weapons. They refuse to fire on humans. Then we are defeated, Tor said, his voice heavy with sadness. No, Admiral Kane said. You are invited. Invited to what? To join us. To build something better together. 3 hours later, the most powerful military leaders in the galaxy sat around a table on Kane's ship. General Vex, General Tor, and Commander Blue looked tired but relieved. I don't understand, Tor said. You could have destroyed us. Our fleets were in chaos. Instead, you invited us for dinner. Kane passed around plates of food from many different worlds. Human, Altarian, hegemony, and crystalline dishes all together. General, Kane said, what would be the point of destroying you? We'd lose potential friends and the galaxy would lose your wisdom and strength. But we came here to conquer you, Blue said, her crystal body dim with shame. You came here because you were afraid. Kane corrected gently. Fear makes people do things they don't really want to do, but fear can be cured with understanding. General Vex looked at Kane with new respect. All of this, the messages, the personal information, the relationships, it was all planned? Not planned, Kane said. Hoped for. We hoped that if we showed you who we really are, you would want to be our friends instead of our enemies. And if we had still attacked? Kane was quiet for a moment. Then we would have defended ourselves. But we would have been very sad about it. Tor laughed, a sound like happy thunder. You humans are impossible to understand. Actually, Kane said with a smile, we're very easy to understand. We want the same things you want. Safety for our families, good lives for our children, friends to share our joys and help us through hard times. Commander Blue's body flickered with warm light. Is that really all? That's everything, Kane said. 6 months later, the galaxy was a very different place. The three great military powers had joined together with humanity to form the Galactic Alliance. Their combined fleets now protected trade routes and helped solve problems on distant worlds. General Vex became the Alliance's chief strategist, using his brilliant mind to plan peaceful solutions to conflicts. General Tor led engineering projects that built new worlds for species that needed homes. Commander Blue established schools where aliens and humans learned together. And Admiral Kane, he went back to playing chess with his daughter, teaching her that the best way to win was to make sure everyone could win together. In the end, the smartest generals in the galaxy learned that they had been afraid of the wrong thing. They thought, humans were dangerous because humans were strong. But humans weren't dangerous because they were strong. They were dangerous because they were kind. And kindness, as it turned out, was the most powerful weapon in the universe.